Saving Mr. Banks is a 2013 American-Australian-British biographical comedy drama film directed by John Lee Hancock from a screenplay written by Kelly Marcel and Sue Smith. Centered on the development of the 1964 Walt Disney Studios film Mary Poppins, the film stars Emma Thompson as author P.L. Travers and Tom Hanks as filmmaker Walt Disney, with supporting performances from Colin Farrell, Paul Giamatti, Jason Schwartzman, Bradley Whitford, Ruth Wilson, B.J. Novak, Rachel Griffiths, and Kathy Baker. Named after the father in Travers' story, the film depicts the author's fortnight-long briefing in 1961 Los Angeles as she is persuaded by Disney, in his attempts to obtain the screen rights to her novels. Produced by Walt Disney Pictures, Ruby Films and Essential Media and Entertainment in association with BBC Films and Hopscotch Features, Saving Mr. Banks was shot entirely in the Southern California area, primarily at the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, where a majority of the film's narrative takes place. The film was released theatrically in the UK on November 29, 2013, and in the United States on December 13, 2013, where it was met with positive reviews, with praise directed towards the acting, screenplay, and production merits. Thompson received BAFTA Award, Golden Globe Award, SAG Award, and Critics' Choice Award nominations for Best Actress, while Thomas Newman received an Academy Award nomination for Best Original Score. The film was also a box office success, grossing $112 million worldwide against a $35 million budget. Plot: in London in 1961, financially struggling author Pamela P.L. Travers reluctantly agrees to travel to Los Angeles to meet with Walt Disney at the urging of her agent Amuid Russell. Disney has been courting Travers for 20 years, seeking to acquire the film rights to her Mary Poppins stories, on account of his daughter's request to make a film based on the character. Travers, however, has been extremely hesitant to allow Disney to adapt her creation to the screen because he is known primarily as a producer of animated films, which Travers openly disdains. Her youth in Elora, Queensland in 1906 is depicted through flashbacks, and is shown to be the inspiration for much of Mary Poppins. Travers was very close to her handsome and charismatic father Travers Robert Goff, who fought a losing battle against alcoholism. Upon her arrival in Los Angeles, Travers is disgusted by what she feels is the site's unregistered trademark's unreality, as well as by the Norvay optimism and intrusive friendliness of its inhabitants, personified by her assigned limo driver, Ralph. At the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, Travers begins collaborating with the creative team assigned to develop Mary Poppins for the screen, screenwriter Don Dargrady, and music composers Richard and Robert Sherman. She finds their presumptions and casual manners as highly improper, a view she also reciprocates on the jocular Disney upon meeting him in person. Travers' unregistered trademark working relationship with the creative team is difficult from the outset, with her insistence that Mary Poppins is the enemy of sentiment and whimsy. Disney and his associates are puzzled by Travers' unregistered trademark disdain for fantasy, given the fantastical nature of the Mary Poppins story, as well as Travers' unregistered trademark own richly imaginative childhood existence. Travers has particular trouble with the team unregistered trademark's depiction of George Banks. Travers describes Banks' unregistered trademark characterization as completely off base and leaves a session distraught. The team begins to grasp how deeply personal the Mary Poppins stories are to Travers, and how many of the work unregistered trademark's characters are directly inspired by Travers' unregistered trademark own past. Travers' collaboration with the team continues, although she is increasingly disengaged as painful memories from her past numb her in the present. Seeking to find out her unregistered trademark's troubling her, Disney invites Travers to Disneyland, along with her progressive friendship with Ralph, the creative team unregistered trademark's revisions to George Banks, and the insertion of a new song to close the film helped her soften Travers. Her imagination begins to reawaken, and she engages enthusiastically with the creative team. This progress is upended, however, when Travers discovers that an animation sequence is being planned for the film, a decision that she has been adamantly against accepting. she confronts and denounces a protesting Disney, angrily declaring that she will not sign over the film rights and returns to London. Disney discovers that Travers is writing under a pen name, her real name being Helen Goff. Equipped with new insight, he departs for London, determined to salvage the film. Appearing unexpectedly at Travers' unregistered trademark residence, Disney opens up a describing his own less-than-ideal childhood, while stressing the healing value of his art and urges her to shed her deeply rooted disappointment with the world. Travers relents and grants him the film rights. 3 years later, in 1964, Mary Poppins is nearing its world premiere at Grauman's Chinese Theatre. Travers has not been invited because Disney fears that she will give the film negative publicity. Goaded by her agent, Travers returns to Los Angeles, showing up uninvited in Disney unregistered trademark's office, and finagles an invitation to the premiere. She watches Mary Poppins initially with scorn, reacting with particular dismay to the animated sequence. She slowly warms to the film, however, and is ultimately surprised to find herself overcome by emotion, touched by the depiction of George Banks' unregistered trademark redemption, which clearly possesses a powerful personal significance for her. Cast: Emma Thompson as Pamela P.L. Travers, author of Mary Poppins; Tom Hanks as Walt Disney, filmmaker and producer of the film; Annie Rose Buckley as a young P.L. Travers; Colin Farrell as Travers' Robert Goff, Pamela's alcoholic, yet loving, father; Ruth Wilson as Margaret Goff, Pamela's mother; Paul Giamatti as Ralph, Pamela's chauffeur; Bradley Whitford as Don Dargrady, co-writer of the screenplay for Mary Poppins; B.J. Novak as Robert B. Sherman, composer-lyricist who co-wrote the film's songs with his brother Richard; Jason Schwartzman as Richard M. Sherman, composer-lyricist who co-wrote the film's songs with his brother Robert; Kathy Baker as Tommy, Walt Disney's executive secretary; Melanie Paxson as Dolly, Disney's secretary; Rachel Griffiths as Aunt Ellie, the sister of Pamela's mother; 11, Ronan Vibbert as Diarmuid Russell, Pamela's agent; Dendry Taylor, Victoria Summer, and Christopher Cure appear in minor, non-speaking roles as Lillian Disney, Julie Andrews, and Dick Van Dyke, respectively. Production, development: in 2002, Australian producer Ian Colley produced a documentary film on P.L. Travers titled The Shadow of Mary Poppins. During the documentary's production, Colley noticed that there was an obvious biopic there, and convinced Essential Media and Entertainment to develop a feature film with Sue Smith writing the screenplay. The project attracted the attention of BBC Films, which decided to finance the project, and Ruby Films' Alison Owen, who subsequently hired Kelly Marcel to co-write the screenplay with Smith. Marcel's drafts removed a subplot involving Travers and her son, and divided the story into a two-part narrative: the creative conflict between Travers and Walt Disney, and her dealings with her childhood issues. Marcel's version, however, featured certain intellectual property rights of music and imagery which would be impossible to use without permission from the Walt Disney Company. There was always that elephant in the room, which is Disney, Colley recalled. We knew Walt Disney was a key character in the film and we wanted to use quite a bit of the music. We knew we'd eventually have to show Disney. In early 2010, Robert B. Sherman provided producer Alison Owen with an advance copy of a salient chapter from his then-upcoming book release, Moose, Chapters from My Life. The chapter entitled, Tween Pavement and Stars contained characterizations and anecdotes which proved seminal to the Kelly Marcel script rewrite, in particular the anecdote about there not being any color red in London. In July 2011, while attending the EA Film Festival, Owen met with Corky Hale, who offered to present the screenplay to Richard M. Sherman of the Sherman Brothers, music composers of Mary Poppins. Sherman read the screenplay and gave the producers his support. Later that year, Marcel and Smith's screenplay was listed in Franklin Leonard's The Black List, voted by producers as one of the best screenplays that were not in production. In November 2011, the Walt Disney Studios president of production, Sean Bailey, was informed of the existence of Marcel's script. Realizing that the screenplay included a depiction of Walt Disney, Bailey conferred with the company's executives, including Disney CEO Bob Iger and studio chairman Alan Horn, the latter of whom referred to the film as a brand deposit, a term adopted from Steve Jobs. Together, the executives discussed the studio's potential choices: purchase the script and shut the production down, put the film in turnaround, or co-produce the film themselves. Iger approved the film and subsequently contacted Tom Hanks to consider playing the role of Walt Disney, which would become the first ever depiction of Disney in a mainstream film. Hanks accepted the role, viewing it as an opportunity to play somebody as world-shifting as Picasso or Chaplin. Hanks made several visits to the Walt Disney Family Museum and interviewed some of Disney's former employees and family relatives, including his daughter Diane Disney Miller. The film was subsequently dedicated to Disney Miller, who died just before it was released. In April 2012, Emma Thompson entered final negotiations to star as P.L. Travers, after the studio was unable to secure Meryl Streep for the part. Thompson said that the role was the most difficult one that she has played, describing Travers as a woman of quite eye-watering complexity and contradiction. She wrote a very good essay on sadness, because she was, in fact, a very sad woman. She'd had a very rough childhood, the alcoholism of her father being part of it and the attempted suicide of her mother being another part of it. I think that she spent her whole life in a state of fundamental inconsolability and hence got a lot done. With Walt Disney Pictures backing, the production team was given access to 36 hours of Travers' audio recordings of herself, the Shermans, and co-writer Don Dargrady that were produced during the development of Mary Poppins, in addition to letters written between Disney and Travers from the 1940s through the 1960s. Richard Sherman also worked on the film as a technical advisor and shared his side of his experiences working with Travers on Mary Poppins. Initially, director John Lee Hancock had reservations about Disney's involvement with the film, believing that the studio would edit the screenplay in their founder's favor. However, Marcel admitted that the studio specifically didn't want to come in and sanitize it or change Walt in any way. Although the filmmakers did not receive any creative interference from Disney regarding Walt Disney's depiction, the studio did request that they omit any on-screen inhalation of cigarettes due to the company's policy of not directly depicting smoking in films released under the Disney banner, and to avoid an R rating from the Motion Picture Association of America. Instead, Disney is shown extinguishing a lighter cigarette in one scene, and his notorious smoker's cough is heard off-screen several times throughout the film. Filming, principal photography began on September 19, 2012. Although some filming was originally to be in Queensland, Australia, all filming took place in the Southern California area, including the Walt Disney Studios lot in Burbank, Disneyland Park in Anaheim, Big Sky Ranch in Simi Valley, the Los Angeles County Arboretum and Botanic Garden in Arcadia, Universal Studios Courthouse Square, and the TCL Chinese Theater in Hollywood. For the Disneyland sequences, scenes were shot during the early morning, with certain areas cordoned off during the park's daily operation, including Sleeping Beauty Castle, Main Street USA, Fantasyland, and the King Arthur Carousel attractions, while the park's cast members were hired as extras. Production designer Michael Kornblith had to ensure that post-1961 attractions did not show up on camera, and that storefronts on Main Street were redecorated to appear as they did during that time period. Kornblith also had to recreate Disney's office, using photographs and a furniture display from the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library as references. To recreate the original film's premiere at the Chinese Theater, set designers closed Hollywood Boulevard and redressed the street and theater to resemble their 1964 appearances. Emma Thompson prepared for her role by studying Travers' own recordings conducted during the development of Mary Poppins, and also styled her natural hair after Travers, due to the actress's disdain for wigs. To accurately convey Walt Disney's Midwestern dialect, Tom Hanks listened to archival recordings of Disney in his car and practiced the voice while reading newspapers. Hanks also grew his own mustache for the role, which underwent heavy scrutiny, with the filmmakers going so far as to match the dimensions of Hanks' mustache to that of Disney. Jason Schwartzman and B.J. Novak worked closely with Richard M. Sherman during pre-production and filming. The lyricist described the actors as perfect talents for their roles as Richard and Robert B. Sherman. Costume designer Daniel Orlandi had Thompson wear authentic jewelry borrowed from the Walt Disney Family Museum, and ensured that Hank's wardrobe included the Smoke Tree Ranch emblem from the Palm Springs property embroidered on his neckties, which Disney always wore. The design department also had to recreate several of the costumed Disneyland characters as they appeared in the 1960s. Filming was completed on November 22, 2012. Walt Disney Animation Studios produced a recreation of the Tinker Bell animation featured in the Walt Disney-hosted weekly TV show Walt Disney Presents. Historical accuracy. Saving Mr. Banks depicts several events that differ from recorded accounts. The dramatic premise of the script that Walt Disney had to convince P.L. Travers to hand over the film rights, including the scene when he finally persuades her is fictionalized, as Disney had already secured the film rights when Travers arrived to consult with the Disney staff. Disney in fact left Burbank to vacation in Palm Springs, California a few days into Travers' visit to the United States, and was not present at the studio when several of the film's scenes depict him to be in. Therefore, many of the dialogue scenes between Travers and Disney are adapted from letters, telegrams, and telephone correspondence between the two. A film also depicts Travers coming to amicable terms with Disney, including her approval of his changes to the story. In reality, she never approved of the dilution of the harsher aspects of Mary Poppins' character, felt ambivalent about the music, and hated the use of animation. Disney overruled her objections to portions of the final film, citing contract stipulations that he had final cut privilege. After the film's premiere, Travers reportedly approached Disney and told him that the animated sequences had to be removed. Disney dismissed her request, saying, "Pamela, the ship has sailed." Although the film portrays Travers as being emotionally moved during the premiere of Mary Poppins, presumably due to her feelings about her father, co-screenwriter Kelly Marcel and several critics note that, in real life, Travers was in fact seen crying at the premiere out of anger and frustration over the film, which she felt betrayed the artistic integrity of her characters and work. Resentful at what she considered poor treatment at Disney's hands, Travers vowed to never permit the Walt Disney Company to adapt any of her other novels in any form of media. Travers' last will, in fact, bans any Americans from adapting her works to any form of media. According to the Chicago Tribune, Disney was indulging in a little revisionist history with an upbeat spin, adding that the truth was always complicated, and that Travers subsequently viewed the film multiple times. English writer Brian Sibley found Travers still gun-shy from her experiences with Disney when he was hired to write a possible Mary Poppins sequel in 1980s. Sibley reported that Travers told him, I could only agree if I could do it on my own terms. I'd have to work with someone I trust nevertheless." While watching the original film together the first time Travers had seen it since the premiere she became excited during moments and thought they were excellent, while other parts she considered to be terrible. The sequel never went to production, and when approached to do a stage adaptation in the 1990s, she only acquiesced on the condition that English-born writers and no one from the film production were to be directly involved with the musical's development. Although Travers was assigned a limousine driver, the character of Ralph is fictionalized and intended to be an amalgamation of the studio's drivers. In real life, Disney story editor Bill Dover was assigned as Travers' guide and companion during her time in Los Angeles. Soundtrack: the film's original score was composed by Thomas Newman. Newman's process of scoring the film included playing themes to filmed scenes, so that he could listen to what the music does to an image. Walt Disney Records released 2 editions of the soundtrack on December 10, 2013, a single disc and a 2-disc Digipack Deluxe edition. All songs written and composed by Richard M. Sherman and Robert B. Sherman. Release: a trailer for the film was released on July 10, 2013. Saving Mr. Banks held its world premiere at the London Film Festival on October 20, 2013. On November 7, 2013, Walt Disney Pictures held the film's U.S. premiere at the TCL Chinese Theatre during the opening night of the 2013 AFI Film Festival, the same location where Mary Poppins premiered. The original film was also screened for its 50th anniversary. Saving Mr. Banks also served as the gala presentation at the 2013 Napa Valley Film Festival on November 13, and was screened at the AARP Film Festival in Los Angeles on November 17, as Disney heavily campaigned Saving Mr. Banks for Academy Awards consideration. On December 9, 2013, a film was given an exclusive corporate premiere in the main theater of the Walt Disney Studios lot in Burbank. The film was released in the United States on December 13, 2013, in limited release, and in wide release on December 20. Despite not earning a nomination, the film was widely considered by pundits to be a front-runner for Best Picture at the 86th Academy Awards. Home media. Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment released Saving Mr. Banks on Blu-ray disc, DVD, and digital download on March 18, 2014. The film debuted at number 2 in Blu-ray and DVD sales in the United States according to Nielsen's sales chart. Reception. Box office. Saving Mr. Banks grossed $18.1 million in its opening weekend, finishing in 5th at the box office behind The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues, Frozen and American Hustle. By the end of its theatrical run, Saving Mr. Banks earned $83.3 million in North America, and $29.2 million in other countries for a worldwide total of $112,544,580. Critical response. Saving Mr. Banks received positive reviews from film critics, with major praise directed to the acting. Particularly Emma Thompson, Tom Hanks, and Colin Farrell's performances. Film review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes reports an 79% certified fresh approval rating from critics, based on 225 reviews with an average score of 7/10. The site's consensus reads, aggressively likable and sentimental to a fault, Saving Mr. Banks pays tribute to the Disney legacy with excellent performances and sweet, high-spirited charm. Metacritic assigned the film a weighted average score of 65 based on 46 reviews from mainstream critics, considered to be generally favorable. The Hollywood Reporter praised the film as an affecting of somewhat soft-soaped comedy drama, elevated by excellent performances. The reporter wrote that Emma Thompson takes charge of the central role of P.L. Travers with an authority that makes you wonder how anybody else could ever have been considered. Scott Founders of Variety wrote that the film has all the makings of an irresistible backstage tale, and unregistered trademark has been brought to the screen with a surplus of old-fashioned Disney showmanship. And that Tom Hanks's portrayal captured Walt Disney's folksy charisma and canny powers of persuasion, at once father, confessor and the shrewdest of businessmen. Overall, he praised the film as very rich in its sense of creative people and their spirit of self-reinvention. The Washington Post rated the film 3 out of 4 stars, writing, Saving Mr. Banks doesn't always straddle its stories and time periods with the utmost grace. But the film which John Lee Hancock directed from a script by Kelly Marcel and Sue Smith, more than makes up for its occasionally unwieldy structure in telling a fascinating and ultimately deeply affecting story, along the way giving viewers tantalizing glimpses of the beloved 1964 movie musical, in both its creation and final form. The New York Times' A.O. Scott gave a positive review, declaring the film is an embellished, tidied up but nonetheless reasonably authentic glimpse of the Disney entertainment machine at work. Mark Kermode awarded the film 4 out of 5 stars, lauding Thompson's performance as impeccable, elaborating that Thompson dances her way through Travers' conflicting emotions, giving us a fully rounded portrait of a person who is hard to like but impossible not to love. Michael Phillips felt similarly, writing, Thompson's the show. Each withering put-down, every jaundiced utterance, lands with a little ping. In regard to the screenplay, he wrote that screenwriters Kelly Marcel and Sue Smith treat everyone gently and with the utmost respect. Peter Travers also gave the film 3 out of 4 stars and equally commended the performances of the cast. Alonzo Duralde described the film as a whimsical, moving and occasionally insightful tale. Director John Lee Hancock luxuriates in the period detail of early unregistered trademark 60s Disney armor. Entertainment Weekly gave the film a B+ grade, explaining that the trick here is how perfectly Thompson and Hanks portray the gradual thaw in their characters' frosty alliance, empathizing with each other's equally miserable upbringings in a beautiful three-hanky scene late in the film. Kenneth Turan of the Los Angeles Times wrote that the film does not strictly hew to the historical record where the eventual resolution of this conflict is concerned, but admitted that it is easy to accept this fictionalizing as part of the price to be paid for Thompson's engaging performance. David Gritton of the Daily Telegraph described the confrontational interaction between Thompson and Hanks as terrific, singling out Thompson's bravura performance, and calling the film itself smart, witty entertainment. Kate Muir of the Times spoke highly of Thompson and Hanks's performances. Joe Morgenstern of the Wall Street Journal, however, considered Colin Farrell to be the film's standout performance. IndieWire's Ashley Clark wrote that the film is witty, well-crafted and well-performed mainstream entertainment which, perhaps unavoidably, cleaves to a well-worn Disney template stating that all problems however psychologically deep-rooted can be overcome. Another staff writer labeled Thompson's performance as her best since Sense and Sensibility, and stated that she makes the Australian-born British transplant a curmudgeonly delight. Peter Bradshaw enjoyed Hanks' role as Disney, suggesting that, despite its brevity, the film would have been largely bland without it. The film did receive some criticism. The Independent gave the film a mixed review, writing, "On the one hand, Saving Mr. Banks is a probing, insightful character study with a very dark undertow. On the other, it is a cheery, upbeat marketing exercise in which the Disney organization is re-promoting one of its most popular film characters." David Sexton of the Evening Standard concluded that the film is nothing but a big corporation boasting about its own marvelousness. Lulu Mennick of the New York Post criticized the accuracy of the film's events, concluding that Saving Mr. Banks is ultimately much less about magic than making the sale, in more ways than one. American history lecturer John Wells praised the film's attention to detail, such as the inclusion of Travers' original recordings, but doubted that the interpersonal relations between Travers and Disney were as amicable as portrayed in the film. Film School Rejects also described several moments where the film had a shrewd consumption of the company's own criticisms, only to later negate them and Disneyfy Travers as a character. Saving Mr. Banks was named the sixth best film of 2013 by Access Hollywood. Accolades, references. External links. Official website at Disney.com, Saving Mr. Banks at the Internet Movie Database, Saving Mr. Banks at History vs. Hollywood, Saving Mr. Banks at the TCM Movie Database, Saving Mr. Banks at Box Office Mojo, Saving Mr. Banks at Rotten Tomatoes, Saving Mr. Banks at Metacritic, Saving Mr. Banks at BBC Online.